Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. In this episode, I'm going to teach you how you can trust your hunger cues again. Because here's the thing, I often find myself saying, if you're hungry, eat. If you're not hungry, don't eat. When you're in the middle of eating and you notice yourself starting to get full, stop. Basically, honor your hunger cues. Eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full, which is very much opposite from what we've been told our entire lives in a society that tells us that we need to starve ourselves to lose weight and that being hungry almost is like a bad thing. And then growing up, we were told that we had to clean your plate and finish your plate. And if you didn't, that was bad. So we've had so many mixed messages over the years, and from constant, chronic dieting, most people, to be honest, are out of touch with their hunger cues. They almost don't even know what real or true hunger is because they're just constantly worrying and wondering, should they do intermittent fasting? Should they, eat, 3 meals a day? Should they have large portions for lunch and small portions for breakfast and bigger portions for dinner? Or should it be the opposite? There's just so much confusion around it. And at the end of the day, what works for you is the thing that we need to stick to. But how do you learn what works for you? That's what I'm going to teach you today. So I want to share with you a little bit more about why relying on your hunger cues doesn't always work. At the same time, I want to teach you how you're going to be able to trust them. So very often before people start working with me, or I would say honestly, on the very first phone call that I have with brand new clients, this is what they tell me, right? They tell me that they usually don't eat breakfast because they wake up and they're not hungry. So they start their day, they get busy, they're distracted. They're detached from hearing their tummies even growl because they're busy, they're preoccupied, right? And so then they often don't have the time or make the time to eat a proper lunch. They might snack here and there. They never really sit down to eat because they're busy. And in their minds, they're like, I'm not really that hungry. But because they're just so busy, they're not even able to assess if they're actually hungry or not, right? So now we have the physical fatigue from the day, the emotional fatigue from the day, and the physical hunger and cravings that arise when you haven't eaten all day. So now the cravings are really, really high and they're really, really strong. They finally sit to eat, and then that's where no amount of food feels like it's enough. That's when binging frequently happens at around that 3-4 o'clock hour before dinner time or after dinner. That's the most common time that my clients, when they first start working with me, that's when they tell me that they often struggle, that and then weekends, okay? So the reason is because, they're obviously not eating all day long, right? But they're not hungry. So they're heard, I'm not supposed to eat if I'm not hungry, right? And it makes sense. I don't want you to feel like you have to force yourself to eat, right? But so then what happens now, they overeat at night, and then they wake up in the morning, they have a full belly, and of course they're not hungry, right? So it makes sense. So we need to break this cycle, okay? So I'm going to teach you how to break this cycle. If this sounds like you, definitely keep listening. I'm going to teach you how to break this cycle, and it takes time, okay? Anything that's worth it takes time. So you're going to have to practice this for a while. And it might feel a little bit weird in the beginning, and you might have to eat at times when you're not actually feeling physically hungry, just to get your body used to eating at certain hours and certain times, right? So you wake up not hungry for breakfast because you're not used to eating breakfast, right? But it's obviously not helping you being able to apply balanced eating and, mindfulness and all of that stuff. So we have to kind of readdress that, right? So the first thing we can do, I'm going to teach you 3 ways to break this cycle. So first thing you want to do is you want to start implementing a flexible meal schedule where you actually plan to eat 3 meals per day around the same time each day, whether you're hungry or not. right? So this might not be feasible because of your schedule, but most of you, maybe you start your day at 9. So maybe you aim to eat breakfast by 8:30, because once you start your day's, you're on the go. Then maybe you decide to have like a quick lunch around like 1 o'clock, and then your dinner is usually at like 6 or 7 o'clock. And at least you have those 3 balanced meals, and whether you're kind of hungry or not, chances are a couple of days of that, and you'll start to actually be able to feel your hunger, okay? Now, the second part to that is now, after you've done that for about a week or so, it's about being able to assess your hunger before you eat, even kind of paying attention during your eating, and then after you eat as well. So I just recently put an infographic on my Instagram. If you're not following me, definitely follow me at tips_with_Tony with an I. And this episode's coming out on the 8th, Friday, or whatever that date is. So it'll probably still be pretty close up to the top when you go to my Instagram. And I created an infographic of the hunger scale. So the hunger scale is something that I utilize with my clients when I'm helping them get back in check with their hunger cues, as a way to kind of assess, where they're at that scale. Okay, so most people think that the time to eat is when they're really feeling like almost like they have a headache and dizzy, and like their stomach is like crazy growling, right? And they're almost like they have no energy. That's when people say, I need to eat. But that's not true, okay? We want to eat around like when you kind of start to notice, like, I could eat something. Like, I kind of feel like my stomach's kind of empty. Honestly, and even at like a neutral, like I'm not really hungry, but I'm also not really, I haven't eaten in a while. So I'm probably a little hungry, right? That's when we want to actually start kind of choosing when to eat. And then as we're eating, we want to check in, and we start to notice like maybe our stomach starts to fill up a bit. Now you're feeling satisfied, but then there's like a point where you recognize, okay, if I keep eating, I might get to that point of uncomfortable. That's usually where we want to stop. And then if you're ever noticing that you're at like that place of uncomfortably full, or like, think about Thanksgiving, like that stuff to the point where you need to like unbutton your pants, you're so uncomfortable, or even the maximum, like you're physically ill, you're super nauseous, like you feel sick. That's when we know that we overdid it. And so listen, it's okay that sometimes you might wait till you get dizzy to eat. We want to try to prevent that as much as possible. And there's also going to be times where you eat past that point of fullness where you feel physically ill. It's normal. We're human. It happens. The issue is with that's your everyday, you're never going to heal your relationship with food and get to where you want to be. Okay? You're never going to feel your ultimate best. Your energy levels are going to be all off. So we want to make sure we're paying attention to our hunger cues. So what I just described to you were all these different kind of steps on the hunger scale that I encourage you to go onto my Instagram to take a look at the actual visual. Also, if you want, I can text it to you. So if you're not on my text list, definitely join my text list. You can text me at 914-219-6446. Again, 914-219-6446. And just say, hey, you'll automatically get prompted, and that part's automated. But then after that, it's really me. I always start with like a nice tip about how to manage emotional eating. And then if you're like, hey, Tony, I was listening to your podcast and you mentioned the hunger scale infographic, I would love for you to send it to me. I'll text it to you. So it's a really easy way for us to stay connected. But you could also find it on my Instagram. So the scale goes from 1 to 10. So 1 is like, I'm going to faint. I can't believe I haven't eaten. Like, please feed me. And a 10 is like, I don't feel good. Oh my God, I ate way too much. So now when we're going back to breaking the cycle of this kind of not knowing how to rely on your hunger cues and the under eating and the overeating and all of that. So the first step we said was to start and implement a flexible meal schedule. The second step is now we're starting to assess our hunger. So we want to start assessing it on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay. We want to eat around a 4 or a 5, where we're kind of, our belly feels slightly empty, kind of neutral, and we want to stop around a 6 or a 7. So you feel like you're full and satisfied, and maybe you could eat a little bit more, but if you eat even a little bit more than that, it's going to be uncomfortable. Okay, so that's important when we're kind of assessing where we're at. Okay, so let me know if you want that infographic. I can definitely text it to you, or you can check out my Instagram. All right. And then the third step is to do this for a few weeks, and you're going to start to notice that when you actually slow down and you start to pay attention and you start to use the hunger scale and you start to ask yourself, am I hungry? Am I full? Could I go for a little bit more? Am I satisfied here? And you just slow down. As a result, you're going to recognize that you're going to really know what hunger really feels like. You're now going to slowly be able to trust your hunger cues again. And you'll also notice that at those times where you thought you weren't hungry, like breakfast and lunch, you actually are hungry. You'll start to eat more. And as a result, you'll probably eat less in the evening and then wake up the next day feeling hungry, right? So that is, it seems so simple and basic, but unfortunately it's complicated because of the society that we live in. But I hope that you found this helpful. And I hope that you understand that it's okay to eat when you're hungry. It's like very normal. It's a very physiological, normal response for us to feel hunger. And society tells us that, or diet culture, whatever you want to call it, just tells us we're supposed to not be hungry all the time. Like, you need to eat at least 3 times a day. I personally do believe that for you to get proper nutrition and utilize all your nutrients and just to like keep your energy up throughout the day. So it's okay to eat, okay? It's totally okay to eat. And when you focus on balance and nutrient-dense meals, those cravings for, the sweets and the treats and all that, like, they're gonna be there, and that's okay, and they're okay to have, but they're not gonna be as strong. And you're gonna be able to learn how to have those without leading to a binge or leading to an emotional eating frenzy or going overboard. So the next episode, I'm gonna be talking a little bit more about kind of how to manage cravings. I've done a previous podcast about it. This next one is gonna be a little different in probably what you think I'm going to say. I'm excited to share it. But in general, definitely stay tuned for that. In general, though, if you're really checking in with your hunger and you can just start with that flexible meal schedule with at least 3 meals a day around the same time each day and really make a conscious effort to do that for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then you start to just pay attention and use that hunger scale to guide you, you'll start to notice that you will no longer feel this kind of crazy, like undereating, overeating, kind of roller coaster type of a ride, and you'll feel more in charge of your food choices. And I'm excited for you. I feel like this is definitely possible for you, and it's easy to apply. It does just take a consistent amount of effort. So with that said, if you are struggling with this and you want my assistance, I'm so excited to announce that this Monday, so you're listening to this on Friday, okay? Hopefully, or maybe you're hearing it after. But on Monday the 11th, so January 11th, I'm going to be opening up doors and signups for my group coaching program, okay? So anyone who signs up between January 11th and January 24th, and the reason why I'm doing it like this is because we're going to start on the 1st. So let me backtrack. We're starting on February 1st. So the group coaching program, I'm taking 15 people, just 15. I have a lot more interested, but I need it to be intimate. I want it to work well. I want you guys to really feel connected and close. And I don't want it to be too big because I feel like it loses a lot of the, as much as it's more group coaching and not so much as the one-on-one like I do with my clients, it is still like I'm going to be able to answer your questions in the group call. I still want to provide some kind of an individualized plan. I'm also within the group coaching, you're allowed one-to-one phone call with me. So all that to say, it is more of like a group support sort of a system, but there is a little bit of individuality in there. And because of that, I want to have enough time to be able to help each and every one of you, so which is why I'm only limiting it to 15 people. So going back, on January 11th, the doors will be open, and then depending on if the spots are filled before January 25th, then I'm going to close it at that. But you'll have until January 25th to sign up for a group coaching program that I'm launching, like I said, on Monday. So the details are not finalized here, so you can't get them here, but all you need to do to learn the details and to learn more about the group coaching program is to text me 914-219-6446. Again, 914-219-6446. Text group coaching. Text, I'm interested in the Breakup with Binging group course or whatever it is. I'm interested in learning how to break up with binging, get back in touch with my hunger cues. I want to learn about the group coaching program. When you do that, you'll be put on the list. So, because on my text list, I have other people who are interested in other things. So I want to make sure that I'm providing you with the information that you need so that you actually want. So if you're interested in this group program, you're going to text group to my phone number that you could also find the link in the show notes, okay? In that group program, I'm going to teach you how to get back in touch with your hunger cues. So everything we just learned on this podcast is going to be like on steroids. It's kind of like do it even bigger, right? So this group coaching program is 12 weeks. It's from February 1st all the way to April 19th, okay? There's going to be 8 total Zoom calls, 1-hour Zoom calls. You'll get one individual 30-minute one-to-one call. You'll have unlimited access to the app that I utilize with my one-to-one clients where you can take photos of your food and message me in between. We'll have an additional Facebook support group so that you guys can stay connected. And I'm really excited, guys. This is like my first time launching this group coaching program. And I'm really excited to kind of see how you guys play off each other, teach each other, learn from one another. It's going to be really great. So more details are going to be coming out on Monday the 11th, but if you're listening to this now and you want to be the first to know, those on my text list are going to get that link first. Those doors are going to be open before, I might even open it up before January 11th for those who are on my text list, okay? So you definitely don't want to miss more details about that. I'm super excited to launch this. It's going to be incredible. It's really, really going to be amazing. All right, guys. So one more time, if you're interested in the group, definitely text me 914-219-6446. Just text group, say hi, whatever you need. Just let me know that that's what you're interested in so I can make sure that you're on that specific list when the details come out about the group coaching program. All right, guys, that is it from me today. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I'm Toni Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.